Could be 1 month, could be 2 months.
3 months.
Could be.
4 months.
I see that happening. Could be 1 month, could be 2 months.
3 months.
Could be.
4 months.
I see that happening. Yes.
8 months.
What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the a lot going on, really. You know, are our investments in danger at this point in time? Trump tariffs have the, market shaking in their boots right now at this point in time. And of course, what might happen next in the investment world, especially dealing with crypto. So let's stick around. Let's find out. Let's have some fun. Hope everyone, as always, is having a fantastic day, boys and girls. Let me start it off early because it is Wednesday, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Again, I hope y'all are all having a fantastic day. As always, boys and gals, what is going on? There's a lot happening in the markets lately, guys. There's been, tariff talks left and right. I mean, ever since Trump got into office, there's been some form of an announcement of tariffs. Whether or not they've come to fruition, whether or not they've actually happened, it does have the market freaking the fuck out at this point in time. And we're going to be looking at, some of the items that have happened because, Canada said they were going to be doing a 25% tariff on our electricity that's going to be being brought into the US. And of course, Trump retaliates and says he's going to do a 50% tariff on steel and everything out going to Canada. And so Canada backs off, but now all of a sudden you got the EU coming and they're actually saying there is going to be a potential talk of retaliatory tariffs as well on US goods as Canada walks back their electricity tariff. But then I hear Canada is coming back with their own form of tariff once again against the, steel industry as well. It's just like, bro, come the F on. That's happening a lot lately. We're going to be diving into some charts. We're going to be checking some stuff out. We're just going to be having some fun today, guys, in all reality. Obviously, looking at the charts, looking at the market, shit looks bad, not going to lie on that one. When you go and look at what the market has done over the 2025 year so far, it just really hasn't been that exciting besides unless you're a bear. And then you can say, "Oh, I knew it. The end is here, right? We've hit the top." I sent a tweet out the other day. This has to be the most bearish bull market ever. That is a crazy thing to say, guys. The fact that this has to be the most bearish bull market ever. I mean, guys, who in their right minds thought that we would be seeing what we're seeing at this point in time, right? We have so many factors that just got brought in, especially in the macro. And there's so many good things that have also happened, right? In terms of what we've actually seen so far, right? If I actually just pull this up briefly real quick, we can actually see, we had all of these different items happening where you got BlackRock filing for ETF, you got Larry Fink endorsing Bitcoin, you got Dutch Bank allowing custody of crypto, State Street doing custody as well, UK doing framework to becoming a crypto hub, Spot BTC got approved at this point in time, right? Spot Ethereum got approved. Mt. Gox distribution started at this point in time, right? And these are people who've been waiting since 2010 or 2011 for this type of capital to actually get back in their pockets again. You got the U.S. pro-crypto cabinet happening at this point in time. Gensler is finally out at this point in time. Lawsuits are dropping left, right, and center. We just recently had the SEC case dismissed with the Richard Hart case as well, right? Judge actually came out and dismissed the case with no grounds to stand on. This is incredibly bullish news at this point in time. You got FTX distribution starting. And guys, yeah, there's been some bad things that have happened, like Bybit getting hacked, right? I mean, there's been some bad things. You got the SEC doing a lawsuit against Binance and CZ and Coinbase. But again, most of those got resolved already at this point in time, right? You can see they've already been resolved, right? And again, it's crazy to even think that, we're here in this situation. And yet, at this point in time, when you look at the overall crypto market, it just looks like, meh. Obviously, Bitcoin did its thing and did its little bit of a run as well. But really, altcoins have just really done nothing. I was actually, looking at some charts, I believe, earlier. It was kind of crazy, looking at some of these charts. They were back to levels not previously seen until like the bottom of the bear type deal. And that was in 2022, right? And so we're seeing some prices go all the way back down to where prices were back in the 2022 realm. That's a crazy thing to be saying, right? And again, whenever I'm looking at these charts, I'm not trying to be like, let me find the most bearish point that I can possibly review on right now. No, I want to be seeing these charts and I want to see it in a bullish perspective. And obviously we do have a confirmation bias that has to be, factored in, right? We can't not factor in confirmation bias. I am a bull, whether that be the 4-year cycle perma bull mentality, or whether that just be the fact that, you look at every single time what could possibly be happening right now, how the market has been performing, and how it's literally just right on the cusp of doing extremely well. And then for whatever reason, it just continues to go the other way, right? I pulled this up the other day, but it was like every single time Bitcoin hit $100,000, Ethereum went down and went down. And so it happened, I think, 7 times so far where Bitcoin hit or touched $100,000. And when it first touched, it was like $4,000 Ethereum. And then the next time it touched, 3,900 Ethereum. And then the next time it touched, 3,700 Ethereum. Next time was like 3,000 Ethereum. And you're just like, ETH, you're going the wrong way at this point in time, bro. You're what in the F? Are you drunk? What is happening right now, right? I'm seeing a lot of talks come out as well, talking about the whole M2 money supply. And yes, that does have to be factored in, don't get me wrong. But, obviously the M2 money supply comes with a massive variance of anywhere between 2 months all the way up to 4 months of a variance to where you could actually be seeing when in fact it actually correlates the most. There was someone I had seen that basically said that the highest correlation for the M2 money supply, I believe it was roughly about 105-day delay. And if you aren't familiar with the M2 money supply, I'll briefly just pull it up as well with everyone too, just so that way you can kind of see. But basically what the M2 money supply shows is a couple different things. It basically shows obviously the overall global liquidity happening amongst all the world, right? It doesn't necessarily just pertain with our investments, with our ecosystem or anything like that. This actually only pertains, let me see if I can get rid of that particular one here. Give me 1 second. And we'll delete that one. All right, cool. And so basically what this is showing was a couple of different things, right? When you look at the weekly, I've seen it, discussed that the best way to do it on the weekly is to do a 10-day offset, right? And if again, you want to find this as well and put this on your chart, you can simply just end up going into the indicators, type in M2 global on this one, and you'll see this M2 global liquidity index time shift on here. You're welcome to do that as well. You can do the 10-week lead one. Obviously, time shift allows you to actually input the information yourself. So if you really want to start getting a little bit more technical with it, you can. But you can see this 10-week lead does seem to have essentially like an 85% correlation. It's a very high correlation. So every single time you end up seeing the chart go up on the Bitcoin price, or every single time you see the chart go up on the overall chart itself for crypto, you can see a lot of these do move very similarly together, right? When the M2 money supply starts pumping, so too does the price of Bitcoin. And oftentimes this also correlates very heavily with the overall market as well. This isn't just pertaining to crypto. Actually, you can pull up a lot of different random stocks, right? You can look at the S&P 500 and see it's got a pretty good correlation with the S&P 500. You can pull up Tesla stock and see it's got a pretty good correlation with Tesla stock. All of it seems to do a pretty good job moving in favor with it. And so what people are often seeing on this one is they're saying, you know, yes, we have some correlation. And if it is a 10-week delay, and if in fact that it was to be true, what this essentially shows is we have a little bit more pain possibly to go in the very short-term future or very near-term future, whichever way you feel like phrasing that. But then when we actually start getting into like March 25th, March 24th, somewhere in that little time zone right here, we could possibly expect the market to actually begin correcting and actually pumping toward the upside as well. Now, this is again pulling it from a 10-week phase of a delay at this point in time. If you were to break this down on the daily, oftentimes, you know, this is where you're seeing a lot of things actually start factoring in. So what we can do is we can factor this, instead of being 10-day difference over here, what we want to see is something like 105 days or even something like 76 days as well. And as we start getting into a lot of these charts, when you start looking at how everything actually ends up playing out, the 105-day correlation almost essentially shows that we've almost basically hit that bottom at this point in time. Now, granted, could there be some more bottom to the near-term future? Yes. And if that is the case, and we're looking toward the end of April before the rally really begins, and again, you can see it's not exactly on every single time, but this one had the highest correlation out of all of the days of a delay. Now, again, you can play with all of these. You can see what works best for you. You know, I think a lot of people were on this whole 76-day correlation delay because that was when it actually matched the first peak up here on this one, which again would put the delay roughly around, or the end of this whole bear market time zone right here, roughly in that whole March 25th, March 28th, somewhere toward the end of March timeframe. Now, what I find pretty interesting about this, and it's not necessarily going to end up happening, especially with the we actually had the Fed coming out and doing a whole talk, and they're actually doing this on March 19th. So about a week from now, the Fed's going to be coming out. Right now, they actually show it's essentially not going to be a rate change. There's not enough data in here to actually show any difference right now, and there's probably going to end up being roughly about a 98% chance that the rates stay the same. That is a-okay. That has been predicted. Now, last time I pulled this up for everyone as well, we didn't actually see a rate change until probably about September was the earliest. And the time before that, when I pulled this up, it was actually toward October, if not December, to see that one rate change. In fact, there were people talking that we might not even see a rate decrease in 2025. Now, I know the Fed came back at the end of 24 and they said they were only going to do 2 rate decreases potentially in 2025, and this sent the market toward a downward spiral. If you remember, actually looking at the overall markets, December 15th was around the time where that Fed meeting happened, and guess what happened during that time? The market went absolutely sad, okay? The market actually started going down. Now, whether or not that actually had to also pertain to the M2 money supply or M2 global money supply right there, just happened to be pertaining in that same similar scenario, yes, that could have been a potential happening too. But when you actually look at it now, whenever I see this, there's actually basically a higher probability chance that we now see a Fed rate drop happening in June at the earliest. And I believe it's actually moving up. If we actually see, we did get some CPI data today. It was very bullish news as well. People are saying it doesn't factor in the whole tariff talks. There's a whole bunch of other stuff happening. And so it's kind of in this like uncertainty metric. Was it good? Was it not good? What's really going to be happening? But whenever I end up seeing a lot of this over here as well, oh, and I see, you know, I never really paid attention, but apparently when I'm in this view right here, my little subscribe button actually covers me up over on YouTube. So too funny over here. Well, let me see if I can just move myself real quick. Give me a second. I'll move myself right over here. All right, cool. Maybe that does a little bit better. And I'm actually going through and I'm actually going to be adjusting this through OBS. Right now I'm using Streamlabs. I'm making a whole new setup in OBS, so hopefully next time I stream everything ends up working out, everything ends up doing good. You know, but we'll see. At that point in time, we'll definitely have to take a little gander and peeky weeky over there as well. But what I'm seeing whenever I see this as well is basically we could end up seeing as long as we continue to get bullish news and bullish trajectory, a potential rate drop happening in May of 2025. Now, is it likely? Right now, it is not likely. It's more likely to actually see that rate drop finally begin to happen in June of 2025, which also kind of happens to correlate if you actually use the 105-day metric for that M2 money supply to where we would actually end up starting to get that bullish direction as well, right? If we actually end up going up to like 105-day delay over here, you can see it's going to shift everything all the way over to where basically we're going to be looking about May to really start seeing that pump happen. And then when we actually start seeing the pump happen, that's when we go back up to the $100,000 Bitcoin level. That's obviously bullish news as well, right? We fell below and we actually dropped quite a bit, folks. We've actually made several higher or lower lows and lower highs. If you pull this up on a normal sort of item right here, it tends to be pretty darn bearish when you actually start making some of these moves as well. Where is my parallel? I don't know why I can never remember. It's parallel channel. There we go. Oh, and I have it saved, so I can just do that next time. So we actually have a parallel channel forming right now, which essentially could potentially show where we might end up going if we actually end up going this direction, if it actually ends up happening this particular way. Now, I look to get 3 touches. So again, I'm looking right here. I got my 3 touches, 1, 2, 3, bam. I got my 3 touches, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Now that my 3 touches have kind of been confirmed over here, what do I actually see whenever I look at the chart? Well, if this matches like Ethereum did for quite some time, guys, Ethereum was on this bearish parallel channel all the way until it just dropped down back at the end of February before it actually tried pushing through and just to be rejected once again through, you know, obviously, massive items being controlled, right? This is actually, a lot of this is actually happening by the manipulation, right? The market makers are shaking a whole bunch of people out, whether or not that's just to liquidate a whole bunch of people. You can see all these liquidation levels have in fact been hit at this point in time, but we still haven't seen any of the bull market top indicators, guys. This is why personally I do not believe we're actually at the top or the end of this bull cycle, right? Not a single metric has in fact been hit. And there's 30 metrics to go through on this one. Now, obviously, when you're looking at them, I don't expect all 30 to get hit. If all 30 do get hit, it's a clear sign that we are absolutely at the top of the bull market at that point in time. I hope you've taken plenty of profits off the table, because it's a very good time to actually just sell, goodbye, sit down, relax until the actual bear market does in fact arrive. Whether or not you want to go ahead and re-enter into the capital or re-enter that capital back into the market, or whether or not you just go with a different strategy this time, maybe, for example, buying Bitcoin for the first 2 years of the bear market and then going into alts later. Whatever that new strategy is for you at that point in time, you're welcome to end up getting through that. But you can see again, whenever I pull up these liquidation levels, once again, we've been hitting back-to-back basic days of over $500 million of liquidations. Now today, there's roughly about 270 million liquidated in the last 24 hours. But if you actually go back and look at all of these items, there's $500 million liquidated here, over $500 million liquidated here, over $500 million liquidated here, over $500 million liquidated here. This happens over and over and over and over again. And what I've been getting to notice is, Bybit ends up being pretty much the main contributing factor for all of these liquidations. Now, before they got hacked, what was funny is oftentimes it was actually Binance and other sort of exchanges that were actually the main player whenever they were actually getting liquidated. Once they actually got hacked, Bybit ended up being like the main hostess or main host of all these leverage trades and all these liquidations. Whether or not they're doing any sort of market making to manipulate everything to actually be able to liquidate so they can make fees and they can make their money back, that's for you to figure out on your own. But we've been seeing $500 million days of liquidations essentially over and over and over and over again. And this is in all of the crypto assets, because what they keep having you do is they think, okay, now's the time where we're actually going to go long. And then as soon as you decide to go long, you get absolutely rinsed. They sell the price all the way down to be able to liquidate you in your position. Then you say, okay, cool, the prices have gone down long enough. You know what? You won. I'm going to go short the market because I want to try to make some money back. And as soon as you decide to go short the market, they do a short squeeze and they pump the price all the way up all of a sudden to actually start pushing you out of your position once again to liquidate your position. Now, this has happened over and over and over and over again at this point in time, right? So just some crazy stuff happening whenever I'm seeing all of these charts and all of these datas. Because again, guys, like the fear right now on these charts, it is at a pretty extreme level. You know what I mean? Like whenever I'm looking at this stuff, it's pretty darn bearish. You know what I mean? Like again, not necessarily bearish. Most of the time, what people would say is if the market is like this, obviously what you should in fact be doing is buying the fear, right? You buy when others are fearful and you sell when others are greedy. And right now, if you actually look at the overall fear and greed index going all the way back to 2018, every single time the prices end up being in an extreme fear situation, it has oftentimes been a phenomenal buying price, right? Now, again, that doesn't mean it's always going to end up being that way, but oftentimes if you just buy during the extreme fear portion, you can often end up massively winning and taking on some advantage. And right here, we're actually back into the extreme fear. We got out of it for a couple of days toward the beginning of March of this year. And again, toward the beginning of March right here, there's been a couple of days where it broke a little bit above a little bit above the extreme fear. But we're still in an extreme fear phase right now, right here, guys. This is what I'm trying to point on this chart. As of right now, we're still in an extreme fear. And in fact, it actually got all the way down to 10, which, by the way, we hadn't seen 10 on extreme fear in quite some time. It's only happened a handful of times, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6, or 7 times where it's actually been in that extreme fear situation. Now, does that mean we've actually hit the bottom on the market right now? That's where we're going to have to figure out, because if we actually pull out that M2 money supply again, it kind of shows that we could potentially end up going down and dipping into the $70,000 range for Bitcoin. Now, that would shake a lot of people out, obviously. It's going to get a whole lot of people liquidated, as a matter of fact. If you just pull up that same liquidation chart real fast, whoops, this one right here. And let me just refresh it because this is all in the 80K range. Let me just take a quick little drink. So, a lot of people are all going essentially 25x long, 30x long, 50x long, 100x long. Like they're going long, which is wild at this point in time because, you know, obviously all the market maker has to do is really just drop the price down by 2.5% and you'll get liquidated. If you do a 50x long, the market price has to fall down 2.5% from where you went in, besides the fees and all that other stuff, and you'll get rinsed and you'll get liquidated. If you go 100x long, the price has to drop down 1% from the time you entered. So unless you're an insider or know something, it's pretty much not very smart to go about doing 25 or even 25, 50x, 100x long. But hey, you do what you gotta do at that point in time. But if we dip into the 70K zone, you can see over here, there's going to be roughly about another $1 billion of liquidations that happen during that time. Now, again, a whole bunch of people are going short over here as well. So if the price just pumps all of a sudden up to 89,000, for example, before it dips all the way down to the 70K zone, you're going to rinse people going up, you're going to rinse people going down, and it rinses both people both ways. And if we continue to look at this chart right here, it kind of shows that we may end up getting into that potential for a 70K zone Bitcoin. Now, fortunately, we did in fact close the CME gap. This actually has been closed officially. This is a gap that was formed back in November of 2024. And oftentimes when you see a CME gap, oftentimes it does in fact get filled, right? It's like a 96% chance or something extremely high for how often these gaps get filled. Now, obviously toward the upside, that's bullish news as well. So if you see this little gap right here, for example, well, that's a bullish thing too, because it kind of means the price is in fact going to push back above there to in fact close that particular gap. Now, where's that gap at? Around 84,000. Granted, we're around 83 right now, so it's not too far off right here, from whenever I'm seeing everything. But we did in fact close this gap. We got pretty darn close right here back toward the end of February. And this is where, Trump came out and basically was like, hey guys, we're going to be doing a crypto summit. And the market's like, woo! Crypto Summit, let's go. No taxes on capital gains. Let's find out how fast Bitcoin's going to be bought up from the US. Let's do it. And obviously the Crypto Summit was a big nothing burger, right? Like, to anyone who watched it, it wasn't really anything that crazy that happened. There wasn't anything announced. It was like, hey guys, we're going to use the capital that we've already taken from people and just put it in a reserve and never sell. Like, that was weak, bro. And the market absolutely freaked out because of it, right? And so now we actually got that CME gap close. This happened. It didn't quite close. You can see the gap actually was at 77,930, and the price back here only ended up getting roughly about 78,700. So obviously during that time, it wasn't enough to close the gap. Well, guys, we've officially closed the gap, and fortunately for us, there isn't really any other gaps that need to be filled going back. So like, we've now filled any gaps that were previously there, which is obviously a bullish thing as well. And you know, let me just pull this up on like the weekly, and we'll just do the weekly, and I'll just switch this to the 10-week move, because you know, instead of doing like the daily over here, we'll just look at the 10-week move. So this kind of ends up showing that we really don't have any other gaps to worry about going back and filling. We have filled pretty much all the gaps looking back, unless you're going all the way back to like 2020 or something like that. But besides the time where it didn't get filled in during that time, we have essentially filled all the gaps, which is obviously a bullish thing as well. And now at this point in time, we're just looking to continue toward that upward trajectory. One thing that is very bullish that I would say is the dollar is beginning to finally lose value, which obviously we need the dollar to lose value. You want the DXY to go down. So we want to see this dollar continue to go down. Now, obviously, if this also tends to follow the M2 money supply at all, it's kind of showing that we could in fact be near the bottom, and the dollar could in fact beginning to regain some strength. We'll in fact see how this ends up happening once again, because this also would kind of correlate whether it be the dollar gaining strength, because normally when the dollar goes down, oftentimes crypto and risk on assets go up. But we haven't really seen that. This is a very bullish news right here. Probably one of the biggest candle wicks going down in quite some time on the actual value of the US dollar. And now we're hearing potential of like China or the EU or Canada or whoever it was selling their bonds to basically, you know, hurt or basically cause the US dollar to once again actually regain strength, right? And so that way the dollar doesn't just lose value, it actually begins to regain some strength. So we'll end up seeing what happens. Anyways, what is good to see on this chart is the fact that the dollar is in fact going down. This is the times. Last time we actually saw the dollar doing this, again, just going back over here, was in November. Last time the dollar was losing a little bit of strength was in November. And obviously we had a pretty damn good move toward the month of October into November, all the way into like mid-December, right before, Jerome Powell came out and basically was like, hey, we're not doing any rate cuts. And then everyone's like, what? And then Trump came into the office and was like, hey, tariffs. And I'm like, what? And so every single time we've ended up going up a little bit at this point in time, it has in fact, been a time for risk on and risk off. When you're seeing it below 103, this is oftentimes where I have these levels at. This is actually a pretty good level that I would end up saying, if I was to actually pull this on the actual chart, where I would start seeing a lot of the strength start, kind of forming and showing up around as well. The 103 was actually one of those levels that often tends to be a strong level of resistance and support. So we'll see if we do end up bouncing through there. But what is beautiful, this is again on the weekly, is we broke through all of these previous levels of support pretty darn easily. So now they become resistance, which should in fact be very bullish as well. So what you want to start seeing is like, when you started seeing the dollar lose value, this was, 2020 going into like 2021, the dollar actually lost a lot of strength between that whole March to May top cycle for crypto as well. And it actually lost a lot of strength as well going toward the end of the year in November. And then you actually saw the bear market come into 2022. And that was when the dollar gained a crap ton of strength, right? Right before it kind of ended up topping out, which by the way, September or October of 2022 was basically the top or the bottom of the market for all assets, right? And that was like if you looked at, Bitcoin, for example, or if you looked at, Ethereum, for example, basically 2022 was in fact going to be the actual bottom of the market. And that also happened to coincide with the dollar actually losing a little bit of the value as well. So just kind of pay attention to a lot of this, guys. This is just things I'm sharing with everyone. I just wanted to kind of point this out so that way maybe it makes a little bit more sense for you. And you can actually see, you know, kind of what makes the most sense overall for you and how you could possibly interpret the charts, what you could be seeing when you look at the charts. This is just one of the factors as well. But this is a lot of bullish news, guys. This is a lot of people are saying, you know, basically in 2017, it was 850 days of a bull market, and there was times where it went down, there was times where it went up, and all this stuff as well. This is a lot of people are kind of pointing this out as well. We're getting into that 2025. I potentially think we're actually going into a 2026 cycle as well, which basically just means that we start seeing all the markets start going back up in price. We start seeing all of the capital start coming back into the ecosystem around that, whether it be the end of March, April, or May. It's going to be happening around there somewhere. It could also coincide with, you know, what could end up happening with the overall tariffs. Could we in fact get a lack of the war? We just had some bullish news about a ceasefire deal being signed from Ukraine. That could be obviously good news. Now we need Russia to go about doing their part to do a ceasefire as well. Granted, it's only 30 days, but it's something. It's something toward the right direction, right? The loss of life is unnecessary over, you know, a little bit of land. Don't get me wrong. You know, someone asked a question like, what if someone came into the US and tried just taking a little bit of the land? Obviously, I think personally the situation's different. We have the ability to fight a massive war if we need to. That would probably in fact be bullish for the overall ecosystem, because the government would start pumping capital like crazy to go fight a war, and then you would see, you know, government spending go through the roof. We have a potential government shutdown again with AOC talking about, guys, don't sign the bill because we don't need it to happen. Like, she wants the government shut down. It just seems like some silly stuff that you're actually seeing on all of these items happening. You know, and again, this is actually coming from Fox News, basically saying, hey, we could in fact, you know, be dropping our, you know, prices over here. What did I just do with that freaking window? What? Give me a second. Nope, none of that. So I just like close the window somehow. All right, yeah, I don't know how. Close the window somehow. But basically we're talking about like the EU coming back, and now they're going to be throwing some more tariffs on the US because now Canada is backing down. And then we hear Canada's not backing down. They're just switching their tactics. Instead of energy, they're going to be doing steel, and it's just going to be a whole tariff war. And like, I don't understand how people don't fully capture this right now at this point, right? Like, I personally don't understand how, you know, a lot of these people don't fully understand how this is working and how it's happening, right? Seeing a master negotiator in his craft. Yeah, you know, that's, you know, they're talking about Trump being a master negotiator with the tariffs at this point in time, because obviously he's doing a lot of stuff, right? Like, there's a lot happening all at once, whether it be, again, egg prices finally going down, right? I saw people finally getting a little bit happy about that once again. There's a lot happening, guys. There's a lot happening. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important to understand, you know, the 5 Ps, right? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And if you have the ability to capitalize at this point in time, obviously go ahead and do so, because this is a time where you can potentially buy like you were buying back at those 2022 levels before everything started to rally up again. If you don't have the capital, then, you know, sit on the sidelines and continue to wait. This is what I had a whole conversation with about all the Patreon members as well. I actually had a whole conversation talking about my potential plan going forward in the future. And if you actually want to hear a little bit about the plan, you're welcome to come join Patreon. It's $5 a month at minimum. If you want to join or be more of a supporter on the channel as well, you're welcome to do so. It's greatly appreciated. We do a weekly stream every single Sunday where I kind of go through the actual charts of like the actual RH ecosystem, Pulse Chain, PulseX, Hex, and Ink. And I dive into where I could see prices going, what I'm doing, what my plays are, how I'm planning on actually moving forward, going through this crazy freaking uncertain time right now, because obviously there's a lot happening, right? And with so much uncertainty out there in the market, you got to understand, guys, like a lot of the times you just, whether it be sitting on the sidelines or just waiting it out, oftentimes those are really the two options. Obviously, yes, you can go ahead and sell, you can get out, you can just be done with the crypto game completely, I don't think that's the wisest move. But if you think it's truly the top of the market and prices are only going to end up going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, like a true bear market year, maybe that could be the best for you to just go ahead and exit. Again, I don't want to have that to where I, have a massive regret. If you just saw everything go up 10x, for example, like how much of a regret would you have if you sold your entire position now at these prices and then prices just go up a 10x from here? How much regret would you have? And for me personally, it would be a massive amount of regret. And I don't want that in my life, because I would always be looking back and being like, oh my God, I knew I could have just waited 6 more months. I waited 3.5 fucking years, 4 years. I waited during this entire time. But you can't wait an extra few days, months, weeks, potentially. I just think that's odd to be putting yourself in that scenario. But hey, what do I know, right? I'm just a guy on YouTube talking my talk, hanging out with lovely individuals as well. So let's see what y'all got going on in chat, guys. I want to know how y'all are feeling as well. I did a poll the other day. I'll start a poll right now. Do you think we are in a bear market already? Was the top in already? And again, like yes or no, pretty easy on this one, right? Yes or no. So let's just kind of see. I'll read through the chat real fast, and then oh, it's adding an option right here. How do I delete? I'm holding either way. All right, cool. So I just did a little poll over here on YouTube. Y'all are welcome to go about checking it all out. I'm going to read through the chat on this one first, and then, hey, say hello to some people. We'll come back. We'll see what's going on with the overall individuals as well. So what's going on, Tintop? How you doing, man? Yeah, we got Gabriel Torres in the house. We do. In fact, let me actually hit y'all with Wednesday, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
All right, it is Wednesday, my dudes. It sure is. Buy the big old dip. Yeah, man, dude. Like, if you can, and again, guys, like, I've said this in the past, but what's the benefit of buying the dip? Obviously, we can talk about buying the dip all we want till our faces are blue in the face, right? We can scream it from the roofs and all that good stuff. The main benefit of it is a couple of things, right? First of all, you have more coins to your bag, because all that matters at the end of the day is how many tokens you have, whatever price you sell them for whenever you decide to sell them. The more tokens you have, as prices increase, the more your bag increases. And a lot of the times we don't want to see what we don't want to have happen is something that goes, in a world of, moving up into this area where you end up saying like, dude, I had a position. Let's just say you had 1 billion pulse chain. We'll shorten it down. Let's say you started out with 100 million pulse chain, but because of prices being as low as they have been for as long as they have been, you were able to actually accumulate that bag up to 1 billion. So you've basically done a 10x of your bag. That's an incredible move. And I applaud everyone who's doing that, because whether it be buying the dip or a continued DCA approach, it allows a strategic method to say, this is what I'm going to do. Now, what is the main benefit of that? 2 things. Now, instead of needing 100x to see your bag hit a certain position, you only need a 10x to see your bag hit that same position, because all that matters at the end of the day is how many tokens you have and what the price is. That's it. Obviously, as the prices decrease, yeah, it sucks, guys. And the bigger size the bag is, the easier it is to be affected more heavily, because you're seeing a larger number of your portfolio fluctuate. Okay, and this is why it becomes so difficult to actually hold on to the bag while prices increase as well. But this is that time-based capitulation, guys. They're stalling you out at this point in time. The market has done absolutely shit for like the last 2.5 years during this time of 2022 being the beginning or end of the bear market. It seems like we've just been in a perpetual bear market, especially in altcoins. And so what you have happen is you end up washing out, whether it be, you know, rinsing yourself of your position or whatever the case may be, because of time-based capitulation. So it becomes that much harder. So instead of like you once had a position and it may have been $10,000 and you had 100 million pulse chain. Okay. That was pretty much how the sacrifice phase went if you sacrificed during that time. When you ended up doing that, you now may have been putting more capital, and more capital. So now you actually have 1 billion pulse chain tokens. But now you actually look at, I mean, maybe like a $30,000 bag size. So you've done 10x on your bag size, but you've gotten the ability to do roughly about a 3x of the capital used to actually get there. But now whenever prices decrease, you're going to see that fluctuate a lot more. Because now whenever you see it drop by 10%, you see it drop by $3,000 at a time, right? And so it goes from 10%, 20%, and 30% down. So you see it now, a 30% dip is a $9,000 loss. Now, again, that's not realized. That's just what the bag is showing. So that $9,000 is going to affect you a hell of a lot more, right? You know what I mean? Like, you got to understand that position is going to affect you mentally because now you've said, I only put in 10,000 whenever I first sacrificed. I just lost 10,000 because of this 30% dip. Now, obviously, on the flip side, it becomes a lot easier when prices start pumping as well, because now whenever prices start pumping, that 30,000 turns into 300,000 from a 10x. Obviously, that is a beautiful situation to be in, right? And it becomes that much harder because now whenever you go to a $300,000 bag size portfolio, and now when you see a 10% dip, that's going to be a $30,000 swing in your portfolio. Do you see what I'm saying? And now whenever you see it drop by 30%, that's going to be a $90,000 swing in your portfolio. And $90,000 is most than most people make on a yearly salary average for the American individual. And you're going to see that loss happen probably relatively quickly, maybe within the span of a month in some cases. So you see it go from all the way up to 300,000, and then now a month later, you're back at 210,000. It's going to affect you mentally a hell of a lot more than you did originally just having that $10,000 portfolio and watching it drop $3,000. So maybe it dropped to $7,000. You're like, it is what it is. I can hold it out. I can wait it out. But as that bag portfolio increases, those dips become harder and harder and harder to stomach a lot of the times. And unless you're really ready to stomach that volatility, this is oftentimes when you end up selling that position. And this is probably what maybe some whales have been doing over the, last couple of years, especially in the pulse chain ecosystem, right? They've been in a situation where they've saw their portfolio maybe start out at $500,000. They watched it go up to $1.5 million when the first launch happened. They watched it dip back down thinking it may start recovering again. And then it dips down all of a sudden 60%, right? And so what was once $1.5 million over here, right? Over here, just to kind of break it down in a different way. And then you watch it go down even just, we'll say 65% during that time. You've basically lost $1 million at that point, right? And so you haven't lost anything unless you didn't sell or whatever the case may end up being. But now your portfolio is only $500,000 again. So you see it go up, you see it run up, and then you see it come back down. And then you just watch this little rally happen. And this is to a lot of people is going to cause obviously several people to just be like, you know what? I'll take my 200,000. I'll run. I'll be good. I'm going to live my best life and I'm going to have some fun. And that is what it is. This is kind of what's going on in my personal opinion, right? But we'll have to end up seeing how the whole market ends up playing out all the way. Let me just check something real quick. Here we go. All right, cool. Just wanted to double check and make sure we are all gravy over there. What's going on? Checks my pulse. Happy Wednesday. No liquidation for me, just accumulation. 100%. Pimp barbecue sauce. What's cooking, my guy? Alan said, I ain't worried. It's only March. Yeah, guys, that's also another thing you have to understand, right? One, Trump just got in office like, what? Fucking 6 weeks ago or something at this point in time. Like, obviously there's been a lot of chaos that has happened. There's been a lot of changes that has happened, whether or not it's Trump bringing about the recession himself because Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve won't drop the rate. So Trump's basically like, hey, you're going to force my hand, dude. You're going to make me cause a recession potentially, right? Or we're going to damn sure make it look like one so people feel a lot of pain. Whether or not that's the case, whether or not Trump's playing 5D chess, I don't really know for certain at this point in time, but I do know he is a business negotiator. He is doing it to where he is doing this for the best deal possible, and he's definitely implementing these tariffs in a way to cause the countries to act in his accordance, right? Or whatever that he's looking to do. The art of the deal, or whatever the case may be, whatever Trump, his book is titled right there. And this is what he's been doing right now. He's basically saying, guys, I'm going to set up a tariff right now, and we're going to go through and we're going to tariff these dudes until they're willing to comply and listen. So far, they've been bending the knee every single time. Yeah, they put a little bit of fight in the beginning. They always put a little bit of a fight back in the beginning. And now what he's doing is he's like, if anyone wants to fight, we're just going to double the tariffs. Any retaliatory tariffs, we're going to just double them right away. So if they want to tariff us 25%, we'll go up to 50. And we're going to play this game until they're willing to concede. Now, whether or not that's just him going through and saying, guys, we're going to get there eventually, whether or not it's just trying to get America better deals for the, free trade agreement portion of it, where America has essentially been kind of getting screwed over for the last few years. We've been handing out money like it's no one's business while offering so many other benefits of protection for all these countries and not getting anything back in return. And I think at this point in time, someone's got to fix it. Yes, there's going to be some pain in the beginning. It is kind of what it is right now. I think Trump has said it himself. Like, yeah, dude, we're going through a transition right now, guys. We're going through a transition. Yeah, Canada's selling bonds. Thanks, fucker. Yeah, a little bit, but a little behind, back on track to slingshot. It really is, dude. It really is. Now, my Pomsky says, win sudden wealth. Roof. You and me both, my guy. My dogs are constantly asking when they're going to start getting on farmers market. You know what I mean? That's the dog food of the champions, from what I hear. Everyone, they keep asking us, when are we going to get off this kibble food? When are you going to get us on farmers market? You know what I mean? So my wife's a dog trainer. We have a dog training business. And what's funny about it is, as we end up doing this whole dog training business, some of the clients that we have for like board and trains will send their dogs over with like farmer's dog. And, I think we looked it up and we have 5 dogs, you know what I mean? So like, I understand we got a lot of dogs, right? I get it. I understand, right? We put ourselves in that predicament already. If it's 1 dog, I'm sure it would have been easily affordable at that point in time to be on. 5 dogs end up being roughly like $2,500 a month to feed them just, their food. And so my dogs are constantly like, when are we going to get on this farmer's dog, man? I'm like, just let me get that million in the bank, man. You know what I mean? Let me get that million in the bank, bro. How many times have we said 2 more weeks? Or how many times have we said fucking by May? You know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about Pulse Chain launching May of 2020, May of 2022. It could potentially launch. It didn't launch. May of 2023, it launches. Yes, dude, we'll see a 10x right from the jump. Let's get it. Didn't happen. May of 2024, that's the year, guys. We're going to start seeing some crazy shit happening. And look, guys, I'm saying like May of 2025, I'm kind of falling off the May wagon. You know what I mean? Like at this point in time, I want to see it to believe it, right? I want to start seeing us some big pumps start happening, man. I want to start seeing above SAC. Like, can we just get to SAC? You know what I mean? Like, can we just get there? Can Ethereum just look better than what it is right now? Because guys, like Ethereum looks like dog shit right now. Like it fell below 1,700, which, by the way, hadn't been seen since like fucking 2022, damn near, right? Like that was, look all the way back here. This is again the high of the end of 2017, the bull run. Ethereum got up to $1,400. That was 2021. Guys, the price from 2021 with Ethereum right now, from where we currently sit, is 34%. That's some trash. You know what I mean? Again, looking at this from like a perspective of like, where was Bitcoin in 2017, right? Bitcoin was $19,000 in 2017. And even, yes, it has had some pullbacks. I understand, but it is still up 4.5x. It is still up 4.5x. Right? Am I missing something? It's up. And then you do that same thing with Ethereum. You do the exact same thing. 34%? What the fuck? What? That's weak. That is absolutely weak, guys. And again, like looking at the low, this is the low of 2022 for Ethereum. It's only currently up 2x, maybe. That is freaking weak sauce, my guys. That is weak. Right? Yes. Yeah, I do. I 100%. I'm going to get to this chat down here. So my Pomskis, dude, I hear you, man. I'm with you, man. I really do. I get you. You know, certainty is the new uncertainty. Yeah, I mean, the only thing they say is certain is uncertainty, right? They've always said that as well. The only thing that's guaranteed is life. You know, they talk about life, death, taxes, and they talk about 21 million Bitcoin now. But really in life, the only certainty is the fact that there is going to be uncertainty. It's just a matter of like, there's so much uncertainty in the market right now. It's got everyone spooked, you know? It's got everyone freaking out right now. It's got everyone just being like, I don't know what to do. Potentially years. Yeah, right. Rocket Mob, yep. The man literally wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. Yeah, it's literally what it's called, The Art of the Deal. And that's what he's doing right now with all of these tariffs. Every single time he comes out with, you know, we're launching tariffs against this nation and this nation and this nation. And guys, like, you have to understand the lack of illegals coming into the country, or we have now seen the lowest levels of illegal immigration coming into the US that hasn't been seen in freaking years, guys. You know, that's incredible. We've now seen the least amount of, you know, drugs coming into the US, or fentanyl coming into the US, because he put these tariffs against Mexico and he put these tariffs against Canada, the places there were two coming into, right? Like, he put these places and things, and they said, guys, get your country in control. If not, welcome to the tariff land, right? And again, like, they fell in line pretty damn quick. Yes, they're going to put up a fight. Yes, they're going to talk some shit. Yes, they're going to say we don't bend the knee to anyone. Yes, they're going to do all that. But in reality, they're not trying to punish their people either. He's not trying to actually put tariffs in place. He just wants it to do a little bit of a better method to happen. You know what I mean? He wants it to actually be more beneficial for the US. Pimp Barbecue Sauce says it would be great if RH could share his viewpoint as to whether the bull market ended already. Dude, that would... And, you know, RH actually predicts the top of Bitcoin being $242,000. Like, that is his view. Now, I believe if he had changed his view, he's not against tweeting, right? I think the tweet actually was the one who first showed 242,000 Bitcoin in the first place, right? And again, he likes calling the top of Bitcoin. Richard Hart, 242K. Let's just see if that just pulls up, you know, kind of what I'm looking at right here. 16K listen. Yeah, because he called the bottom, called the top. You know, he's been doing all this as well, talking about the industry. All right, I can't find the exact tweet on it, but he does, in fact, you know, say that, you know, $242,000 is going to be the top of Bitcoin. And, you know, yeah, we got to like 109,000, sure. But obviously that's not 242,000. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't think he thinks the top end. I think he would have made a tweet had the top been in. And again, obviously I can't speak for the man. Maybe we'll end up hearing from him. Fingers crossed. Maybe. Come the 21st of March. Why? Because the SEC had the case dismissed against us from the judge. Judge Carroll says, case dismissed on February 28th. Now, the SEC has 20 days to file an appeal or rebuttal at that point in time. If they're going to do it, they need to do it within 20 days. Again, we're 12 days in, 13 days in at this point in time. So I think it's going to be by at least March 21st. We might, in fact, see something happen. That would be pretty damn cool if we did, in fact, get, you know, RH to stream again. I think, you know, here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy about it all. I thought the SEC case would have been a massive pump to our ecosystem. And yeah, we saw a little bit of a pump, but that was weak sauce, guys. That was absolutely weak. That was probably one of the most bullish news that we're going to get in our ecosystem. And we got fucking less than a 2x on everything, and we're still below SAC. And now we're tied right back to the rest of the market again, like literally within like 2 or 3 days later. That was weak. That was absolutely weak. And so that hype still can continue. And I'm like, dude, if that isn't going to be what it is, then what is that next thing, right? And this is why I'm actually changing my whole strategy that I've actually implemented. And again, I share this with all the Patreon members as well. I'm changing my strategy that I once held in such high conviction because I want to go ahead and take advantage. If the most bullish scenario, in my personal opinion, happened and we barely saw anything happen overall, then I need to change my conviction, because what I didn't do properly is say, again, I was planning for what if the worst happens. Then I didn't want to be on the wrong side of things. And also I said, what if the best happens? I also didn't want to be on the wrong side of things. And so I kind of just played my hand pretty much an even kill way, an even kill method. And now we've got, in my opinion, one of the most bullish news. And we saw really next to nothing happen. And again, in fact, we're lower, if not like back at the same prices that we previously were, prior to the pump actually coming through, right? If I actually pull up the overall chart right now, again, you can kind of see this is pretty crazy over here, guys. You know what I mean? Like whenever I pull up the actual chart right here, this was the date that the SEC case got dismissed. Right, February 28th got dismissed. We saw a pretty good rally, sure, but it, retraced right back. We basically gave it all back up, and we actually fell below our fucking SEC price. That was a moment to me that was like, dude, this is weak, man. That's absolutely, I'm gonna have to change some of my strategy at that point in time. Like, if the most bullish news happens, and we only got a fucking less than 2x pump on the pulse chain price, like literally it went up 54%. That was the most bullish thing that I think could have happened. Granted, yeah, sure, the rest of the market was also going down and blah, 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 and there's a lot of uncertainty happened. But, dude, I thought that was going to decorrelate us from the market for a little bit, because we started rallying fast. And that was before all these market makers started coming in and manipulating prices in such a way. Even on PulseX, I think this is the one chart that probably held up the strongest, because in fact, it actually got to see, damn near a 2x pump. It did see a 2x pump on that day, right? From the case dismissal, and it hasn't gone through and fully retraced down below. But at that point in time, like, it's, again, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. It tends to often continue until there's some sort of reversal that actually ends up taking place. And so, like, if the reversal isn't going to come potentially until, roughly about, end of April, end of March, somewhere in this time frame, because this is, again, if we break this down with that M2 money supply over here, this is by April over here, and potentially all the way by the end of April over here, where we actually start seeing that whole, adjustment. Now, again, this is going off that 105-day adjustment. Again, pulling this up on the 76-day adjustment. Not one of these is going to be perfect, guys. I don't expect none of these to, like, fully come to fruition, but it could be a good bottom toward the end of the month, if not, really starting in April, before we start really seeing that pump start happening again. And even then, it's going to bring us damn near, if we in fact go down to these levels, down into the range of where it was previous to the SEC pump, or the SEC dismissal, right? And so, like, this is where I'm like, if RH does in fact stream, what is going to be the reaction? What do you think is going to be the reaction, right? Do we get a massive pump? Is this what people are looking for? If RH does begin streaming, is it just a one-time stream deal, or is it going to be kind of a more frequent stream deal, right? If it does in fact be a one-time stream deal, are we going to hear anything bullish, right? It's like, this is like kind of reminding me of like the crypto summit again. We got a crypto summit happening. RH is streaming. And then he streams and he's like, hey guys, Richard Hart here. I called the top on the day. I was right about everything. I got the world's biggest diamond. And it's like things we've already heard before, which is kind of the same as the crypto summit. It turned into be a big nothing burger. And by that, prices obviously retraced right back to where they were again. So yeah, it would be great. It would be great. I'm not going to lie. Pin Barbecue Sauce, it would be great. It would be great to have him stream again. The dude, he got me hooked whenever I heard him talk in the first place. He was one of the reasons that I got presented the opportunity to be in the RH ecosystem in the first place. Was my buddy actually, sent me 3 people to watch. he was one of the people that I ended up watching, and I fell in love with everything that he was saying. I was like, dude, this is pretty damn awesome stuff. I've been looking for, this particular potential item as well. Like, this is what I've been looking for. And because of that, it ended up being kind of what it was at that point in time. I'm going to end the poll right here because this is kind of an interesting thing over here because as I was actually doing the poll, you can actually see kind of like what ended up happening overall. So basically, if I actually go back and whoops, does it not show me the poll over here? Oh man, I wish I would have just kept it up for a second. That makes me a little sad. I thought the poll would actually let me show it on stream, but it didn't. So I'll just kind of share with what y'all said, right? And so basically, I had a poll, and I said, "Do you think we are in a bear market already? Was the top already in?" Or, the answers were yes, no, and I'm holding either way. So yes was about 23% of the people. No was about 36% of the people. And the remaining 40 came to say I'm holding either way. So that was a pretty good poll to kind of give a estimate as to, kind of how things are looking right now, how the sentiment is in the ecosystem, what's really happening overall. And, it kind of gives you at least some perspective as to, what's actually happening with everything too, right? So keep that in mind whenever you're seeing a lot of this stuff. Going back to the chat real quick once again, all things lining up for an insane bull run. We will win so hard. Facts. Hard to swallow selling at an 80% loss. Gonna ride this thing out. Yeah, and there's times where like cutting losses makes sense, and holding for a loss if you still believe in the future of the token makes sense as well. So you got to make that decision for yourself. I personally think there's a lot more upside that is potentially going to be possible in the near future for crypto. But again, guys, like this is what I'm saying. If you see a pump happen, let me just kind of share a little bit of some tips with y'all. If you see a pump happen, and it ends up being a situation that you can actually go about taking some profits off the table, maybe that may make sense for you. If you have so much capital invested in the market that you're having trouble sleeping at night because of a 30, 40, 50% dip that happens, maybe when the pump rises, maybe you scoop a little bit off and just put it into your bank and just sleep a little bit easier at night, right? Just have a little bit more peaceful sleep. Like, yeah, you aren't going to get the biggest win in the career, but again, if you're turning $10,000 into $1 million, for example, on a 100x pump, are you really going to be too upset if you end up getting 900,000 if you sold 10%? Now, again, I understand it's not quite the million. You better still sell. Don't get it wrong, because oftentimes you'll end up being like, I'm going to wait till my portfolio reaches $1 million to sell. But if you still turn it into $900,000 on a 90x, you're doing pretty damn fucking good, right? Or again, that would still be 100x, but you would have sold 10% of your position. So I'm just sharing that with you right away. I'm just kind of sharing some insight with you. You can do what you will with that information. But again, I just wanted to kind of allow that to happen. If it allows you to sleep a little bit easier, maybe you got a little bit too much invested. I understand, right? BTC and ETH moving up slowly. I mean, the idea is like, yes, it is. Okay, I can't deny that. The thing that gets me is the BTC dominance has been absolutely fucking monstrous lately. You know what I mean? Like, BTC dominance has absolutely freaking, just crushed at this point in time, right? Let me just kind of like put myself up here, flip. There we go. I'm just gonna move myself once again, just to kind of get out of the way of the chat. Like if you look at the BTC dominance over here, like, dude, 62% on BTC dominance, like, that's ugly, dude. That's ugly. We want to start seeing that sucker go not only well below 60%, obviously, but like, dude, we haven't even been below 60 really since like the beginning of February. That was when the market, basically started taking a shit on the altcoins as well. And again, like, I'm not saying it was always been that way, and you could start seeing it really started happening really toward the end of December, that mid-December rally that you saw, or that mid-December that where everything basically just stopped at that point in time on prices. That was basically showing like, okay, cool, like things are about to start taking a shit, right? And that was kind of that first indicator. Well, seeing 62% on Bitcoin dominance, dude, yeah, that sucks, man. Like, we need to see it below 60%, but not only do we need to see it below 60, we got to get into this like 55 range to really start seeing altcoins start taking advantage of it. Because guys, this ETH dominance, I've pulled this chart up before in the past, but this is kind of showing like with the ETH dominance as it stands right now overall, You know, even like the ETH BTC ratio. Which one is my ETH BTC chart? Give me 1 second while I figure out that chart real quick. It's this one right here. This ETH BTC chart kind of ends up showing, oh, that's the market cap for ETH. Where's my 1 second, y'all. ETH BTC, there it is. So this ETH BTC chart essentially shows that as long as we remain below 0.029 for the ETH BTC ratio, we aren't in an alt season right now, guys. And this based on the M2 money supply, potentially, when you're looking at this, you know, potential data, whether it be the 76-day chart or even if you mark it up to the 105-day chart. So I'll just kind of, you know, we'll adjust it by 30 days here and there. You know, we could in fact start seeing it to where we might in fact be in that rally situation where this could be toward the bottom, and we, you know, we could start that rally beginning. But even here, we're not really looking to start getting above alt season until roughly about June, right? And this is kind of what is a potential possibility. Now, again, we could shorten it down by 30 days. So maybe it's by May, right? Instead of early June or mid-June, maybe it's mid-May where things start actually going the opposite way, which is kind of funny to say because this is when you start getting into that scenario like I talked about earlier, where we ended up looking at these Fed rate cuts potentially happening, whether it be in May or even in June. This could be that situation, right? To be that first little catalyst to start happening. Now, obviously, Jerome Powell can come out and say, hey, guys, we're going to start, you know, we're going to stop quantitative tightening. And that could be that first catalyst. And we could kind of like see a potential rate increase happen, all the way up to, above 50% move over here by, May Fed rate cut day. That could happen. That could. I'm not going to say it won't. It could. But as long as we remain below this 0.029 ratio, all season isn't here, guys. And again, like alt season kicks us into that next gear. You know what I mean? Like alt season is what brings us into the next gear ratio right now. That's the one that kicks us all the way where we're screaming bullish across the charts. That's where we're like, guys, let's freaking go. Whether it be, mid-April, mid-May, somewhere in this time frame, that's when we start screaming, this is alt season. We are so fucking back. This is when you start seeing things like a 10x, 20x, 30x on these actual capitals. And if we get above a 0.04 ratio, boy, oh boy, is that bullish. You know what I mean? But as it stands right now, looking at the others BTC ratio, it's down here. Again, we need to get that sucker at least back above its previous resistance line, which is 0.15 over here. Again, this is just kind of sharing what I'm seeing on these charts. Not saying it has to happen this way, but folks, it is likely that it should in fact continue going down this path, because as I'm paying attention to this, which by the way, we're at 0.022 right now on the ETH BTC ratio. That is fucking boo-boo. That is bad. That is no bueno, okay? So keep that in mind whenever you're seeing a lot of this stuff. The Island Boys and Bad Barbie need to be held accountable for all of this, right? Facts. Where you out of? I need a dog trained. Austin, hence the name ATX, my guy. Austin, Texas. My man got Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I do for sure. That's something I have to acknowledge. Maybe it's a real possibility. Maybe I've been hypnotized as well, and like I've just drank the Kool-Aid already at this point in time. We'll just have to see who's right and who's wrong at this point in time. But damn, right? RH just needs to start streaming and sharing his opinions. Yeah, ideally it's stream, and then it's like a constant stream like he used to, man. Because he used to be dropping knowledge all the time, dropping facts all the time. Remember the image comparing the gains of all layer ones in the first 2 years before Pulse came out? Oh boy. Do I remember? Yeah. You know what? For S's and G's, let's share that. Let's share that chart as well. Let me go find that chart. Here we go. Do I have to actually go into my I know it's saved on my desktop. It's just a matter of. All right, cool. I'll just pull it up on my desktop real quick. Give me a sec. Minimize. All right, let me see where it was. So we got the Pulse chain prices, and we have the Pulse X prices. So I'm going to pull up this one, which is Pulse X. And then I'm going to pull up, I guess it would be this chart right here. That was the Pulse X price prediction. And where's my Pulse chain prices? All right, here it is. Cool. So, you want to see it right now? Do y'all want to see it? Do you want to see it? Let's share it. Because it's important to also remember a lot of this stuff too, guys. It's important to also remember kind of like this basic data over here. The biggest thing to, keep in mind looking at the data right now, whenever I'm actually seeing it overall, is the average. The average being 3.8 years. And yeah, as much as it sucks to say, like, we aren't even 2 years in, okay? So, this shows, ETH launching, Solana launching, and again, this is like the X's from ICO to all-time high type deal and how many X's they end up doing. And so you got an average of roughly about 3,900 X, which is pretty damn crazy. But it also took an average of roughly about 3.8 years. This is how many days it was to, launch to basically its all-time high type deal. And granted, like Solana ended up doing it in 600 days. Cardano did it in 1,400 days. Ethereum took 2,300 days. AVAX was 400 days. Polkadot was 500 days. You're looking at Binance was roughly around 1,400 days. And on average, it ended up being roughly about 1,100 days, which came out to like 3.8 years. And right now we've hit roughly in that, 2-year mark almost. We haven't obviously hit 2 years. That's May of 2025 will be 2 years. But an average of roughly around 3,900X. And even on the low side over here for the X's, guys, a low of 189X. Like, I know I say this all the time, but just imagine what your bag would do and what you would do if you just saw even a 10X on your portfolio right now. What if it was a 50X on your portfolio as it stands right now? Even in the most bearish of bear markets or bearish of bull markets right now, even everything as it stands right now, if you're sitting on a $10,000 portfolio at the current prices right now, and you see it go up to a potential 189X at that point in time, you're still looking at $1.89 million. Okay? Like, that's pretty damn good, guys. That's pretty damn good. Okay? Right? Pretty damn good. Even if you started only with $1,000. And yeah, you may have been able to DCA a little bit more and put in a little bit more capital, and maybe you got it up to like $5,000 or something like that, for example. You do 5,000 times a good old 189X, you're still looking, I didn't do that math right. 5,000 times 189X, you're still looking at damn near $1 million, right? $945,000 right there. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good, guys. That's pretty damn good. Now, again, is it going to happen? Obviously, we got to wait and see. But we haven't even hit the 2-year mark. So, is what it is. Next over here, you got the Pulse X prices. This is a similar chart as well. This one actually had a much lower average for everything. This is like Uniswap, 1inch, Sushi, Injective, Cake, all these other different decentralized exchanges, and, what could potentially happen with Pulse X as well, and what could potentially, end up being the main thing that actually brought it through and brought it down and all that good stuff. Well, what you're seeing right now is you're seeing a potential average of roughly about 363 days. Obviously, we have gone way past 363 days at this point in time from the time Pulse Chain has launched, right? I mean, if you just look at it, how many days has it been? How many days has it been since May 12th, 2023? 670 days. Okay, cool. So there you go. We've already seen 670 days pass on that potential one. So we're double this damn near almost, right? Like, you're right. Doubles is going to be roughly around 720 over here, but we've almost basically done double over here. So granted, I see that. Yeah, there were some that ended up being 700 days, but they've also seen 883 X's, 192 X, and Pulse X hasn't even done a fucking 2X at this point, if I'm not mistaken. Like, again, it's been a while since I've looked at the beginning price of, where Pulse Chain launched and all, but I don't recall it actually ever ended up getting above 2X above SAC price, if I'm not mistaken. So like, that's, once again, pretty damn weak, guys. Again, like, I share this with y'all just to keep it real and just to be as transparent as I possibly can with you whenever I look at some of these charts, because this is it going all the way back to the beginning. SAC price is right here. You know, granted, all the way back over here in May of 2023, and the price ended up going up to, before it hit the all-time high, 38% above SAC. So it didn't even get a 2x above SAC. Weak as fuck, man. Weak as hell. Right? Especially considering all of these potential prices, like 100x, 50x, even like do your same bag size, do it times the 38x, dude. You get a $10,000 portfolio as it stands right now times the 38x. You're still looking at $380,000. Now, is that what you're looking for? Obviously not. Not what I'm looking for either. But I just wanted to share those charts with you because, yeah, it's fun going back and looking at, you know, some of these charts is as crazy as it is to look at as well. I just said today, you know how many times I heard buy the dip, it's opportunities, hundreds, and I bought all of them. Yeah, dude. Facts. Shout out to you, ATX. Help keep me focused on the power of DCA. Appreciate that, my friend. Haven't seen this brother in my feed in maybe over a year. I'm glad he is staying in the game. Yeah, dude. I've been streaming. I do a stream every single Wednesday. And again, I used to do like daily streams. I've switched it up to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday streams. I've done it every single time as well, and it is what it is. Obviously I got a little bit bored looking at all the charts and, you know, looking at the daily streams and being like, yeah, guys, we're gonna go down. And obviously it's good to keep everyone in you know, a realistic perspective, because again, I've always had a positive outlook. I'm very optimistic in general as a person. So whenever I'm seeing a lot of this stuff, I do just want to maintain that optimism as well. I speculate we will see the fear in the market manipulated around April 2nd when reciprocal tariffs kick in. Yeah, exactly. Keep some dry powder ready and good luck. Yeah, dude. Facts. Facts, guys. You know, I'm going to wrap it up right there. Hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, y'all.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague, we all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name, all our insecurities are on display. This is war!